about what to expect from Tiger Woods in the majors this year. And I think you have to be ecstatic if you're a Tiger Woods fan with the fact that he posted a -2 on Thursday. We'll see what he does today, but at least knock furiously on wood. It would seem he would need to really fall apart not to make the cut going into Saturday and Sunday primetime in the PGA Championship. I think by far that is the biggest story as we are starting off our Fridays for those of you waking up on the West Coast. Couple of other things that I think are worth considering. Portland Trailblazers close to catching the Memphis Grizzlies. They got another nice win as the 8 seed that would theoretically be playing against the Lakers. That is worth paying attention to. Also, the Miami Marlins continue to win. They have now moved to 6-1, but on a larger scale, Major League Baseball, there's reasons for optimism there. All 30 teams, hopefully, are going to be in action today for the first time since when the Marlins tested positive and everything kind of fell apart with Major League Baseball last week. The Cardinals obviously have had their own issues, but right now, fingers crossed, the hope is that every Major League Baseball team could be and should be playing throughout the weekend. Back to somewhat of a normal return there. But the biggest story, I believe, by far remains Tiger Woods and what he did at the PGA Championship on Thursday. I've got Dub doing research for me. I mentioned this a little bit earlier in the show that he was going to be in to talk about this because he is the PGA expert. We got Eddie Garcia, who is the expert for everything hockey-related. We got Dub, who I would say is the show expert for everything golf-related. And then Danny G is the expert for everything L.A. Homer-related. So we're not talking L.A. Homers right now, although Tiger Woods also a Californian, and the golf match is taking place in the Bay Area. Dub, what did you see on Thursday as our resident PGA expert that you think is important to bring up as we get ready for Friday and the weekend at a golf tournament? By the way, how incredible! This is a public course, and it's on the little peninsula there. I mean, how incredible are the aerial shots and everything else from this location? San Francisco is a beautiful place, right? A really, really fascinating, just from a pure geography perspective. It's such a unique venue of a city. But to have this golf course located where it is, it doesn't even look real. And I was reading a story about it, that recently when they had the U.S. Open in the Bay Area, just the last 15 years or so, they used this golf course as a parking lot. Like the fairways, did you see this? The fairways of Harding, this golf course, were a parking lot. I think I was reading in the New York Times about the history of golf in the Bay Area, that basically people have said, wait a minute, why is this municipal course that is such a jewel, potentially, if it's taken care of, why have we overlooked it? And credit to them for bringing it back in. You can play. Dub, I saw this. I couldn't believe it. It cost $63 for a round of 18 at this course.
That's pretty unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
And you're right about that. I read that article as well because this golf course, TPC Harding Park, it's pretty much right across the street from Olympic Club where they've had a number of U.S. Opens. So back in, it was 1998, I believe, they used the current course they're playing this week for the PGA Championship as a parking lot because it was a very nice course back in the early days, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then they kind of let it go, and it wasn't all that anymore. So yeah, they used this course as a parking lot. But so that's a pretty incredible comeback story right there, if you will. But as far as the tournament yesterday, to me the biggest thing was the conditions between the guys that teed off in the morning and the guys that went off later in the afternoon. The guys in the morning had a pretty substantial advantage, I'd say, because the wind was a lot less significant. And towards later in the day, it got up to 15 to 20 miles per hour, which is, not ideal if you're trying to go low on the golf course. Because if you look at the leaderboard, there's a huge group of guys that are at 4 under. And every single one of those guys teed off in the morning. The only guy that teed off late in the afternoon is one of the co-leaders, Brendan Todd, who a lot of people probably haven't really heard of. But he's a guy that has won twice this year already, and he's a pretty incredible comeback story himself. Back in 2018, just 2 years ago, he was outside the top 2,000 in the official World Golf Rankings and was considering retiring. And then as of late, the last year or so, he's been just absolutely on fire and already won twice this year, as I mentioned.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? If you are, I know a lot of people are going to be coming home and they want to kick back and they're going to be surprised because it's a West Coast golf course. Tiger Woods doesn't tee off, I believe I'm correct on this, until 5 o'clock Eastern, just shy of 5 o'clock Eastern, 4:58 he's scheduled with Rory McIlroy and with Justin Thomas. And then also Brooks Koepka is going to be teeing off at just after 4:30. So the guys who went off early on Thursday go off in the afternoon, which is typically what happens on Friday to try to balance out the weather conditions. But that's going to be a pretty awesome afternoon of television. A lot of you listening to me right now, when you get home later this afternoon, you're going to be able to put on the television and watch Tiger Woods on this course in prime time till, almost 10 o'clock Eastern, right? Depending on how much backup we see. That's pretty phenomenal for the PGA and also for the average golf fan. Even if you have a job, if you're on the East Coast, Tiger's not teeing off till almost 5.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, last night I was up till 9:30 Central watching golf. It was like a dream. This is like golf's version of the U.S. Open in tennis because, some of those matches won't even start until 11 p.m. Eastern. So it's kind of like that late night golf action, which is very rare, especially for a major event. But Tiger, I mean, if you're a Tiger fan, and let's be real, we're all Tiger fans, you got to be thrilled with how he played yesterday because I watched this whole round from start to finish. And 2 under was a great score for him yesterday because he really didn't play particularly well. There was a lot of holes because this course requires a lot of driver, and Tiger's he doesn't like to take driver if he can help it. But if he can, he kind of got a rhythm towards the end of the round, found some fairways to end it off. So I think if you 2 under, I think you take that and run with it and see what this man can do over the weekend.
As Brooks Koepka 1 out of the lead, Jason Day -5, a lot of guys at -4. Is Koepka, if you had to put $10,000 on a winner and you could only pick one guy, I think I would take Koepka just because of how well he's been doing in the majors so far. I know how hard it is to pick one individual golfer to win, but would he be your guy or would you pick somebody else?
I don't see any explanation on how you would be able to pick someone else. And you mentioned this earlier in the show. I really hope he doesn't just take control of this thing and run away with it because I want some entertainment. I want this leaderboard to be absolutely stacked and packed on Sunday. I don't want Koepka to be, 14 under and then, Justin Rose at 8 under in second place. That's not what I'm kind of hoping for this weekend, and I think everyone can agree with that. So I love Koepka. He's a beast, but I sincerely hope he doesn't run away with this thing.
When you look at Tiger Woods, and I just think he's such a fascinating, not just golfer, but sports figure in general. Because I was thinking to myself as I watched Tiger play some on Thursday, and as I plan, frankly, my Friday evening later tonight, I'm going to kick back and watch Tiger, certainly the back 9. Once my kids are at home and I got everything kind of lined up, I'm going to watch the whole back 9 and probably more than that from Tiger just to see. There's almost a nostalgia factor with Tiger, which to me connects with the Michael Jordan experience that we all had when we watched the documentary The Last Dance. And let me explain by that what I mean. Jordan, to me, defined the 90s. If you are around my age, and Dub, you're crazy young, so you don't even remember this, but if you're around my age, Michael Jordan was the athlete that defined the 90s. And to me, Tiger Woods is the Jordan generation. Tiger Woods emulated in many ways the way he carries himself, everything about his brand on Michael Jordan. And Jordan we still love now watching on The Last Dance. But when we watch Tiger now, it's as if we can embrace the nostalgia that we feel for watching Tiger Woods from all those years ago, too. And this is going to feel like maybe a crazy analogy, but right now, one of the top podcasts in terms of attention is, this is crazy, Mark Paul Gosselaar has never watched the Saved by the Bell episodes in like 25 years that he was in. And for those of you out there, that's Zach Morris. I got to meet Zach Morris at a party, and it was like I felt like I was meeting Elvis, right? Which is ridiculous, and I don't get starstruck too often. But Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell starstruck me. There's a huge demand right now for late 90s era nostalgia, such that Zach Morris has got a podcast where he is just narrating what his thoughts are on watching all of the iconic Saved by the Bell episodes. And there's a huge audience of people that want to watch that. Well, there's a huge audience of people that wanted to watch Michael Jordan basically narrate the late 90s of his career. And now I think there's a huge audience out there that loves watching Tiger Woods, not only for what he's capable of now, but because it takes them back to the experience they had watching Tiger Woods in the late 90s and the early 2000s. It's like we're all going back to the future again. And all those guys, you probably didn't anticipate you would start off your Friday morning on the West Coast if you're just waking up right now, hearing me try to analogize everything with the Saved by the Bell cast, with Tiger Woods and with Michael Jordan, but they're all 1990s icons, and I just find it fascinating to think about what Tiger Woods represents, not only right now as still a good golfer, but as that window into all of our younger selves watching him in the late 90s and the early 2000s. He is nostalgia personified, except he's still good enough to be the best in the world at any given major championship.